Hi guys, welcome to the start of a reading vlog. I want to talk about my favorite book. My favorite book is Jane Eyre, and this has been my favorite book since probably the middle of high school is when I started calling it my favorite book, but I read it for the first time when I was in 7th grade. A couple books that I read during that year that really stood out were A Tree Grows in Brooklyn, which I really loved, and then Jane Eyre, which obviously I have here. And this is the, hold on, I've showed you already, but this is the original copy that I first read when I was, 13, and it is destroyed. I am the proud owner of 4 different copies of Jane Eyre. This was a gift in high school from my high school boyfriend, which is the Barnes & Noble Alphabet Edition. And then I bought this book, this version of it, last year from Book Outlet because I thought that it would be a cute paperback along the lines of this one, which I just bought last week at Half Price Books. Clearly, I'm confident that I like this book. The problem is, I haven't fully reread Jane Eyre since I was in 11th grade. And I am now almost 23. I'm planning on posting this video on my 23rd birthday, March 5th, so hopefully that works out. I haven't read this book in 6 years. So I don't even remember if I don't even know if I'm gonna love the whole thing. So that is what we're gonna do. In this video, I would like to reread my favorite book 6 years later. If you don't know, Jane Eyre is the story of Jane. She is an orphan and she goes to this school to kind of like learn or whatever, but the main plot of the book is that after she graduates from school, she decides she wants to be independent and gets hired as a governess at this big house for a little girl who is the under the guardianship of Mr. Rochester. And it's just about Jane kind of growing up and becoming her own person. I just want to read it again to make sure that it actually is still my favorite. I can't imagine what I'll do if it's not still my favorite, but I just want to bring you on this journey with me because Jane Eyre means a lot to me and I want to make sure that it still means a lot to me. Hey guys, we're hanging. I just wanted to give you an update. I am 80 pages in and I've been reading for about an hour and a half. They're so mean to her. Another booktuber that I follow recently read this book and basically called it a coming of age novel. And like, I never thought about it, but I guess that's kind of right. In my head, this book is a love story. But it's about Jane Eyre and it follows her from childhood to adulthood and how her life as an orphan being raised by a cruel aunt, and then her life, there's a couple chapters of that, and then it really moves on to her life at a school for charity girls, so girls who either are orphans or have lost a parent, and it's a charity school, so she boards there basically from age 10 to 18, and that's where I am right now. They're so mean to her. They're really not mean to her, like the school isn't, but this poor girl, she just gets, it's just, her whole life has just been kicking her when she's down, and it's like, it's really upsetting. It's really upsetting. Oh, Miss Madame here has decided to join us, and Elsa is throwing a fit, or Marcy's throwing a fit because I am not petting her. Oh. Why is she so overexposed? There we go. Good girl. Anyway, I like it. I am 101 pages in. I got to chapter 10. I'm going to call it for tonight because it's like 10 something now. I've become a slow-ass reader, so I didn't read as much as I wanted to, but honestly, actually I did read as much as I wanted to. I wanted to read 100 pages. So, yeah. I've already gotten a little emo. Yeah. She's good. Hey, so it is, oh my god, this is a weird angle. It is Tuesday night, and I don't know what time it is because I don't have a clock in this room except my phone, which I'm using to film this. and I'm reading Jane Eyre. I'm about 120 pages in, so I've read like 20 pages since yesterday so far, and I think yesterday basically told me that I can't be objective because in my head I already love this book, so it's like hard for me to be objective about parts that I think I might have found boring before. Then again, I did read this for the first time when I was like 12 or 13, so, you know, it is a different like mindset that I have. I will say the first 100 pages of this book are spent following her as a child, Jane as a child, and when I called it a coming of age novel, I think something that I had a problem with that description is the fact that only 20% of this book is actually following her as a child. She skips 8 years and now she's 18, and within 20 pages she's like grown up and now is getting this job as a governess at Thornfield, which is like Thornfield Hall, which is the house where she'll eventually meet Mr. Rochester. We just met Rochester. He's already calling her a fairy. Like, I love this book so much. They're talking about all of Jane's paintings right now, and honestly this part is kind of reminding me of A Court of Thorns and Roses, and how Farrah's like only hobby is painting, but they like never tell you what she ever paints, just that she's like good at it, I guess. And this is like that, but they actually like talk about what she paints and why she paints them, and like where her inspiration comes from, and like how it's a part of who she is. So like, I get that it's like, oh gosh, my hand's like in the whole frame. I get that it's like, I don't know, like a better book, but still. So I'm driving to work, and it is now Wednesday, so I'm running out of fucking time, and I'm still only around 30% done with the book. Yesterday, March 3rd, was primary day, and because of the nature of my job, I worked for almost 13 hours, tracking the elections and, you know, doing journalist things. So I did not get a chance to read, and so today I was like, damn, I should really like try an audiobook. Ugh, this fucking car is trying to pull ahead of me. I should really try the audiobook while I drive to work, because like that's what I usually do, and I haven't been listening to any audiobooks because instead I've been listening to like YouTube videos like while I drive, like kind of like they're like podcasts or something. I fucking hate the Jane Eyre audiobook that my library offers. I just tried it. I listened to it for literally not even 5 minutes. I didn't like the narrator. I didn't like the voices. I could hear where the audio was like cut together from different takes. I can't do it, which means I might have to extend this challenge to be like a full week and post this video this weekend, which sucks, but you know, we live our lives and we gotta, you know, make do. I was also thinking, like, should I say that this is gonna have spoilers? I feel like this book is old enough, people kind of know what happens, but just in case, there's gonna be spoilers. I'm gonna talk about like my favorite things that happen. So hello guys, it's my birthday. I'm 23 today, and I'm trying not to move. I'm reading Jane Eyre. I'm 202 pages in. I did not read it all the last 2 days. It was probably not a good idea to do this whole thing. Literally the busiest work week I've ever had. So this is gonna be just as long as a vlog as I need it to be. It's gonna be me reading this book as an update for Jane Eyre. The fire scene happened where she hears like the laugh for the first time and like goes out into the hallway and finds that Mr. Rochester's room has been set on fire. And honestly, I forgot how creepy that scene was. I was very impressed because, I mean, the way that this is written, it's a classic. The writing isn't super like spooky, but it did a good job. I was very impressed. I would die for Jane, obviously, and honestly, I can already, first of all, I must have been an idiot the last time I read this book because I literally don't remember any of these like, there's so many hints about Mr. Rochester having like a secret and being unhappy about a choice that he made in his past, and like I didn't remember any of that shit. I guess I was just dumb. But you can also already see, like, how much he, like, admires Jane and how much she admires him. And I'm like, But he just left the Thornfield and, is going to the party where he's going to meet, like, all the people that he's going to invite over, which means that pretty soon we're going to get to the part where he starts to try and figure out if Jane likes him by convincing her he's going to marry someone else. So, like, we'll see how that goes. I literally am going to die. Look how fucking cute she is. She's so cute. This is my new shirt. My mom sent it to me in the mail. And I can't freaking show you again because I can't move. But my Harry Styles album is, like, right there next to my phone. And I got some nail polish. And I got Wilder Girls. I bought Wilder Girls for myself because I was at Target. And I got approved for Rory Power's second book. So I thought I'd read the first one first. I mean, I'm, like, not looking at the camera at all. I'm just staring at my face. Honestly, I'm not even staring at my face. I'm staring at Elsa. So, you know, I think I can be forgiven. Okay, so it is moments later. And, oh god, this lighting is gross, but whatever. Jane has just found out that Mr. Rochester is left, and she's also just found out about Blanche Ingram, who is the woman who's going to be, like, set up to be her romantic rival. And she's, like, trying to figure out what her feelings are, like, why she feels so upset about learning that Mr. Rochester has left the house to go spend, like, 2 weeks at a party with this woman. And literally, she realizes that she has a crush on him and is just dragging herself. Like, literally. She's like, you, gifted with the power of pleasing him, you, of importance to him in any way, your folly sickens me, you poor, stupid dope. Cover your face and be ashamed. He said something in praise of your eyes, did he? Blind puppy. Open their bleared lids and look on at your own accursed senselessness. Like, Jesus Christ, girl, be a little nicer to yourself. It's like, calm down. She's like, God, you fucking dumbass clown bitch. Shut the fuck up, you dumbass bitch. But, like, to herself. And it's like, girl, chill the fuck out. Oh my god. It's, like, not that deep, but also kind of deep. I don't know. I am reading this now, and a lot of the things that I love in romances kind of make a little bit more sense. I love it so much. Hello, good morning. I think it's like 1 o'clock in the afternoon on Saturday, the 7th. So, obviously, did not succeed in finishing this on my birthday. Still not even done. I have reached page 372, which is the end of volume 2. I'm about to start volume 3. And I guess the way this book is kind of broken up is there's volume 1, which is her as a child. Volume 2 is the whole part where she's at Thornfield. And spoiler, the wedding scene has just happened where we find out that Mr. Rochester is already married to a woman that he keeps, like, in the attic because she is mentally ill and violent. And so Jane is, like, about to, like, run away and, like, do all of that and spend her time with, like, those sisters and, like, their brother. He's, like, a preacher. Don't know. I am really loving this book. I think that after page 200, it really picks up. I think the first 200 pages were interesting. They were, like, laying the groundwork of her life in the beginning of, you know, her time at Thornfield. But I think after 200, it starts to, like, really get busy. And I was just thinking, like, Mr. Rochester's really a jerk. Like, I love this man, but he's a jerk. And something that I'm, like, trying to, like, gather my thoughts while as I am thinking them. I think some things I want to say are, we had the scene where Jane goes back to, I think it's called Gateshead, the house where she grew up, like, with her aunt, who, like, was really mean to her, and because her aunt has had a stroke. I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but she goes back, and I always kind of thought that scene was, like, kind of boring, or, like, that section was kind of boring. And now that I'm, like, reading it again, older, with a wiser mind. I'm like, oh wait, it's because it's like everything in this book is very purposeful. I feel like a lot happens. I feel like there's not that many lulls. So it's just like constantly stuff happening, but it's like a lot internal. Anyway, I feel like it was cool to have that one because it like drops the hint that of her like relation, her Jane Eyre, her like uncle, that he like exists. And then also it shows on page Jane's capacity for forgiveness and willingness to forgive even though she's been wronged. And I feel like that's really important to establish like on page, like in character, because honestly, Mr. Rochester really like he really did her dirty. And especially after he's been like exposed for being this fraud. Oh, this is like the bar on the window. Sorry. Especially, what are you doing? She's not doing anything. Especially after he's been exposed, he doesn't have any kind words for Jane. He's just kind of like, why wouldn't I want to marry this young, you know, pure girl? Like, when he's trying to justify his actions to the preacher and the lawyer and his wife's brother, he's really just like, look at the difference. Why wouldn't I want to marry her? Look how sweet and young and innocent she is. And don't I deserve to have, you know, some happiness in my life? But he's never like, I fell in love. I love her. She's, you know, I want to be with her and I've been haunted. Like, he's never like nice to her. And I'm like, I feel like that kind of having the established capacity for forgiveness is really important. And then I'm about to enter volume 3, aka my least favorite part of the book, which is when it's hard to say because I'm talking about the part where she runs away again to live with those like two sisters and the brother, and like kind of spends, I think it's like a year with them, recovering emotionally. It's hard to say that that's my least favorite part because there are some of my favorite little scenes are in that section, specifically the scene where she is being proposed to or something by the brother, and she like hears Mr. Rochester's voice like calling out for her. Fucking love that scene. I'm about to enter that part of the book, which is objectively the most boring because it's just like her getting healthy, making friends, becoming financially independent, like, but no romantic plot, you know what I mean? And that's like my favorite part of the book. But reading it now, again, wiser, big brain Morgan, I can see that it's necessary for this like period of absence between them because Jane is going to learn how to stand up for herself, how to be more independent. Not that she, you know, isn't already independent and standing up for herself against Mr. Rochester, but she's much more likely to come to him again, like in this position of subservience. Oh god, my hair. Because he's like, he hired her, he's her master, he's her like employee or employer. This section is going to be important because Mr. Rochester will be humbled by the fact that not only is Jane willing to defy him, but she's willing to leave him. Like, they love each other, but he was being overbearing and controlling and using her. And I think this like period of absence not only makes Jane a stronger person, but it softens the part of Mr. Rochester that is willful and prideful. And I'm really looking forward to their reunion. My favorite scene in the whole book, my favorite scene in the world that I've ever read is the scene where she comes back to him in the end, and I'm like, I'm so excited. It's so dumb. Anyway, I have almost exactly 200 pages left. I'm hopefully going to finish it tomorrow. I'm going to read another 100 pages today, and then I will read the rest tomorrow, I think. Maybe I'll read them all today. Who knows? I have a 3-day weekend, so I'm like one chapter left. It's so good. They just got reunited. They were telling each other like how they were when they weren't together. It's just so happy that they're together again. Oh god. Hello, baby. Oh, stop it. Anyway, I love this book. Hi guys, it is today, March 10th, and I finished reading Jane Eyre on Sunday, which was the 8th. I love this book. I think you could probably tell. I do have some things I want to say. What's his name? St. James, fucking OG mansplainer. I hated him so ferociously every single moment. He just stifles the core of who Jane is, and she's like, to be with him would to be living in death like every day, and I just hated him. Mary and Diana were much less like characters. I kind of was remembering the two sisters that Jane ends up living with during the year that she spends away from Mr. Rochester. I was also surprised by how quickly the last like action happened. So she decides that she wants to go back to Thornfield Hall to see what happened see how Mr. Rochester is, and she discovers that the house was burnt down and that his wife passed away and that he was injured and now like lives as a recluse. And then they get reunited, and the whole end really happens like very quickly within, I would say, 40 pages. And I found that a little weird, but I did love the ending so much. And I would still say that this is my favorite book. I feel like something that happened now that I'm reading it, older, and it's been so long, and I've been telling myself that I loved this book for so long, and it's true. I do love this book, and I do think it's my favorite. I just didn't feel, while I was reading it, as passionate as I have about other books that I've read lately. For example, a book that I've read lately that I feel very passionately about, if I can get it off my shelf, is Red, White, and Royal Blue. I adored this book. I'm planning to get a tattoo based off of this book. And another book, which I for some reason rated 4 stars in my like spreadsheet. I don't know what that was my cat was doing, but Nevermore. I bumped this up to 5 stars. I've been obsessed with it since I read it in January. And those are books that I feel right now very, very passionately about. But I just feel like this is still my favorite because it is like a deep love that I have for this book. Not to mention that as I was reading this, I saw so many of my trope, character dynamic, character relationship, setting, plotting, I saw so many of my preferences that I have now in my reading taste. I could see how much they were influenced by reading this book and how much this book has kind of reflected itself through so many of the books that I've loved since reading this when I was in 7th grade. And it's just wild to like, for example, I really love power dynamic problems in a relationship. I love class differences in my romances. I love when the woman is a little bit more not subdued in character, because Jane is definitely not like a subdued character. She is, I would say, a spitfire that has kind of been trained to like know what her role in society is and accepts it while also, having her small victories. And what do you want? Do you want something? I love Mr. Rochester, even though he's an asshole. I love a dark, brooding hero who's, very charming and self-possessed, but not particularly, the most good-looking or the most smooth, the most polished for society. And I love stories that take place in creepy houses, and I love when somebody is invited into this kind of large, empty setting that they're not really familiar with. I love ghost stories, and this kind of has like inklings of that. There's just so many things about this book that I feel have created the foundation of my reading taste, that to say that it is anything less than my favorite book of all time is not only doing a disservice to my feelings for this book, but doing a disservice to the influence that this book has had on me. And I feel like I'm getting like very like mushy gushy right now, but I'm so happy that I reread this. I'm so happy that I reread this now. And it was so interesting reading it as someone who turned 23 like the same week that I was reading it, because I'm not that much older than Jane, but I can see now how, you know, maybe like she loves so passionately and so quickly, and she's so dramatic, but like she's 18, you know what I mean? Like love is so passionate and strong and fast when you're 18, and I love this book. And the reunion scene was so cute. Basically, I just want to say that I love Jane Eyre very much, and I just think it's neat. So with that, I am going to sign off. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know how you feel about Jane Eyre, if you like it or don't like it. If you don't like it, I would love to know why. I think it's really interesting to hear people's critiques of, you know, books that I really love, specifically because it's really easy to point out specific things that make you dislike a book, but it's kind of harder to say, I like a book because of these specific qualities that it has. Like, I've been talking so much about, I feel like I did a pretty good job talking about specific things that I liked in this book, but maybe I didn't. Maybe I'm just like, in general, oh my god, I love the whole thing, which is absolutely true. So I just like to hear about it. If you liked it, tell me what you liked about it. If you think you're going to read it, tell me, you know, why are you going to read it? So yes, I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Bye!